The live pictures we're looking at, it appears things have calmed down a little bit. Have they?
No, not according to the reports we're getting. I think it's just the angle which we're able to show you. But what is happening is that the military are actually starting to fire live ammunition up into the air. And what you're seeing there on your screens is essentially a standoff that is happening. Hundreds of police dressed in riot gear firing successive rounds of tear gas at protesters that are next to the Israeli embassy. Where they are, the police, they're just by the Saudi embassy, and you can just see in the corner there the protesters. They're at the foot of the Israeli embassy, so it's all happening in the same kind of vicinity. There are about 2,000 people, and there are now two flashpoints, not just the Israeli embassy, but we're now hearing too the Giza security headquarters. You were just talking about that a few moments ago. There was a lot of trouble there earlier in the day when Molotov cocktails were being lobbed over towards the security headquarters, some of them setting fire to the trees in the garden and also a police vehicle in there. Now we're hearing that once again protesters are trying to storm the security headquarters. So the situation escalating, and it's now past 3:15 in the morning, and the tactics of the police, it seems, and also now the military who are getting involved, getting all the more serious in an effort to try and control what's happening and stop these protests from getting any more violent and swelling anymore. As far as we understand, these protesters are unarmed. They've been there for hours. They, as you said, started by gathering at the Israeli embassy and trying to take down that security wall that had been built by Egyptian authorities about a week ago. After they did that, that is when we started seeing some clashes on the periphery of the Israeli embassy. And now as we see the situation escalating ever more, about 450 people that have been injured in between the protests at the Giza security headquarters, which is just, we should say, next to the Israeli and the Saudi embassy. So it's all happening around the same area.
Sherine, why are they now firing live rounds if those reports are true? They were talking earlier about showing maximum restraint.
That's right, and that was the message that we were hearing throughout the day, that there would be maximum restraint exercised by the police force, who were very much of the opinion that they didn't want to inflame the situation anymore. There's been so much tension here between police and the protesters, and the main problem, according to protesters, are these heavy-handed tactics that are used, what they call excessive force used against unarmed protesters. But it seems as the night has dragged on and more protesters have taken to the streets, they have found that their tactic in order to deal with this is, first of all, to fire tear gas to try and disperse, and now to fire live ammunition, which is certainly scaring a lot of people there. Another thing that was happening was that as people were watching what was going on their television screens, they started to go out in larger numbers onto the streets near the Israeli embassy to sort of back up the protesters who were there. I think firing live ammunition in the air, certainly a very scary sound and scary look for anyone who's seeing and hearing that, perhaps trying to send a message to other people that they shouldn't be going towards that area. And of course, again, the question is what the next step will be. It seems that throughout the course of the night we've seen more and more serious action being taken by the police and now the army.
What sort of numbers are you hearing as far as injured people go?
Well, the latest information we have coming from the health ministry is that 448 people have been injured, but that was about half an hour ago. We haven't had an update from the health ministry since then, and we have seen an awful lot of tear gas being fired towards the protesters. So I expect that number will increase throughout the course of the night.
Okay, and as those tensions escalate on the streets, an emergency cabinet meeting has been called. When is that expected to take place?
That's going to happen on Saturday morning, which is essentially just a few hours away now. And that's going to be attended by the Interior Minister, the Health Minister, the Prime Minister, of course, Hassam Sharaf, the Minister of Social Solidarity, and also one of the members of the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces. It's all about crisis management right now. What is their policy on the ground? It's only after that that they will start discussing the ramifications of this. Of course, we're also hearing that the Israeli ambassador has left the country. In fact, he's the latest information we should say that we have is that he's boarded the plane, but the plane has not taken off yet, and that's with his family and with other embassy official staff. So the ramifications of that and what that means in terms of the relationship between Egypt and Israel, and the questions that Egypt will have to answer to Israel, of course, this being a massive breach of security, the fact that protesters not only breached the wall, but in fact got inside the building, went upstairs to the building, started throwing and destroying documents and replacing the Israeli flag, shredding the Israeli flag down there, as we saw on the ground. All of these are certainly questions that the Israelis will want answers to. Why is it that the Egyptian police and the military didn't move in sooner?
Okay, Sherine, thank you for that for now. Sherine Tadros there, live from the Egyptian capital, Cairo.